It's been 4 years since the end of the war. And today we send forth a vessel designed for battle, but now repurposed for peace.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00, and today we get back to the most detailed series and take an in-depth look at the UNSC Infinity, or at least the bits that aren't classified. Note that this is a complete overhaul of the original most detailed breakdown of the Infinity. To get right to the lore, skip to this time signature or the introduction chapter to skip my reasoning behind this re-upload, but I recommend, to avoid confusion, you stick with me here for a minute or two. I've remade this most detailed breakdown for a few reasons. One, I said when I did the original that it was not a complete breakdown, and that I would revisit it. Two, there were aspects of my normal ship breakdown process that I didn't perform on the Infinity, and it is only fair that I do so, mainly relating to the stem to stern analysis, which has been rectified in this video. And three, I'm simultaneously launching the Archive, a subcategory of the most detailed series. If you consider that when I do a ship breakdown, for example, most UNSC ships have fusion drives and titanium A armour and Mac cannons and nearly a dozen other features that are nearly identical from ship to ship. Rather than repeating the same information from video to video, I thought it better to highlight the differences that a respective ship may have to the others, and then refer you to the library or archive of mini most detailed breakdowns relating directly to the specifics of these similar features. That way I don't feel like I'm giving you the same content but packaged up in a different way. You don't feel cheated by hearing the same stuff over and over. You get a good feel for the detailed breakdown in the main video, but if you choose to delve even deeper, the videos are there to satisfy that craving. Based on the popularity of this new concept, I may also make a UNSC Infinity supercut, where all of this peripheral information is merged into a single multi-hour video. But we'll see. This will eventually encompass many other aspects of the lore than just ships, but everything's got to start somewhere. Just as it was with the original breakdown, there is so much lore that is yet to be explored or extrapolated, and as such, there is still so much left to find out. As I'm sure you're aware, the research that goes into a most detailed breakdown is immense, so they're not as common as my other video series, but when we do get one lined up, you can expect a level of detail here that you absolutely will not find anywhere else. In the research for this video, I have drawn information from the games and books including Halo 4, Spartan Ops, Halo 5, as well as Halo Warfleet, Halo Mythos, the official Spartan Field Manual, and the Essential Visual Guide, and referenced sites like Halopedia and Halo Waypoint to bring together as much information on the Infinity as possible. At the same time, however, in places where I have practiced knowledge, I have extrapolated additional information using principles of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics in order to add layers of detail otherwise missing or only briefly touched upon. While some aspects of this breakdown are not necessarily cited in the lore, I have used these principles to inform my assumptions and estimations within a tolerable margin for error. And while at this time I am confident in its accuracy, as new lore emerges, I am willing to reconsider these points and adjust my views accordingly. Should this happen, further videos will be made looking at the specifics, in order to build a more complete understanding and referenced guide to the Infinity. Now, with all that said and done, welcome to the Infinity. UNSC Infinity INF 101 is an experimental Infinity-class supercarrier of the UNSC Navy commissioned following the end of the Human Covenant War. Built in secret, utilizing technology recovered from Forerunner and Covenant sources during the war, Infinity is the UNSC's largest and most advanced multi-role vessel to date. Infinity serves under the direction of Fleet Command and was originally captained by Andrew Del Rio and later Thomas Lasky. She is the current designated flagship of Expeditionary Strike Group 1 and serves as the ceremonial flagship for the United Nations Space Command. The first ship of her class, Infinity, was secretly deployed in combat in March 2553. On February 21st, 2557, the vessel was officially commissioned after being refit with technology that would add scientific and diplomatic endeavours to her capabilities. By February 2558, Infinity had a crew of 17,151 sailors, marines, ONI operatives and civilian personnel, as well as numerous adjunct members of the other UNSC branches and a number of Huragok specialists. Infinity may additionally embark an escort force of 10 internally docked Strident and later Analyst class frigates. As of October 2558, the primary shipboard AI is Roland. The ship's motto is Order et faire, to dare is to do. It is worth remembering that much of the particulars of the Infinity and how she was built is still highly classified, so information at this time may be incomplete or missing entirely. However, I will do all I can to extrapolate within reasonable limits as we go. The ship was constructed in the Special Assembly Plant Concord located in the Oort cloud surrounding the Sol system, with construction beginning in 2544. The ship was designed by a team composed of Vice Admiral Elizabeth Sark, Commander Oscar Grayson, and Doctors Dana Wolf and Seda No Okuna. Secrecy was ensured by having workers permanently stationed there over several years, with a total communications blackout in effect. The ship's massive building expenditures, however, prevented ONI from keeping the Infinity a complete secret. Many senior members of the Admiralty, such as Rear Admiral Saeed Shafiq of UNSC Procurement, were fully aware of the ship's existence at the time of her construction. Eventually, the fleet took control of the vessel rather than the Office of Naval Intelligence. Captain Andrew Del Rio took command of the ship and her pre-commissioned crew years prior to the end of major hostilities in the war. though Synconi Margaret Parangoski correctly predicted that Commander Thomas Lasky would eventually supplant Del Rio. As of March 2553, technology discovered on Trevelyan, a shield world located in the Zeta Doridus system, was planned to be incorporated into the ship. Huragok assistance in refining the ship's slipspace navigation capabilities in particular was expected to push the final construction milestones far ahead of schedule. Unlike older warships which had only areas such as a gym or hangar space for Marines and Spartans to train in, Infinity is the first known vessel to include a state-of-the-art virtual reality combat deck capable of replicating environments from across the galaxy, real or hypothetical, using a combination of holography, props and simulated sensory input fed through the Spartan's neural interface. Due to the classified nature of the Spartan program, much of this information is still classified. From stem to stern, Infinity has a length of 5,694.2 metres, or 18,681.6 feet, a beam of 833.3 metres, or 2,733.9 feet, and a height of 1,041.2 metres, or 3,415.9 feet. This makes her the largest warship the UNSC Navy has ever commissioned, surpassing previous record holders such as the Punic-class supercarrier. Among contemporary vessels, her length is surpassed only by the Covenant's 29-kilometre CSO-class supercarriers and the Sangheili 6.3-kilometre brigantines, though by foreigner standards she qualifies as a mere destroyer. For transportation throughout the enormous vessel, Infinity is equipped with high-speed tram systems. Her hull is composed of 4.9 metres of titanium A3 armour. I've covered titanium armour many times before, but this permutation is a newer variant and thus it stands to reason has some properties that are above and beyond previous iterations. The exact alloy of titanium is still unclear. Titanium A plating is the major quoted titanium alloy used by the UNSC, but there is no clarification on the exact nature of it. All we know for certain is that the primary titanium mined is a high-grade form of titanium called titanium-50. This simply means that there are 50 subatomic particles within the titanium atom, totaling 22 protons and 28 neutrons. That it is molecularly strengthened to more suitably fulfill its role as armour plating. I believe, however, I can deduce more than this by its characteristics, material properties, and understood and established methods of metallurgy. There is passing reference that this permutation of titanium is ablative in nature, meaning that when hit by plasma weapons, material from the armour vaporizes, chips away, or otherwise erodes from the surface to negate the penetrative effects of the projectile in question, carry heat away from the ship, and protect the inner, more essential and vulnerable areas of the ship by sacrificing sections of the armour local to the impact site. However, when you consider that the armour plating is usually going up against the Covenant plasma weapons, that itself has a temperature that renders the vast majority of metals as molten when it comes into contact, the term ablative is rather subjective. All of these processes serve to make the titanium A3 armour plating the most excellent expression of materials properties available for titanium alloys for the 26th century. Molecularly reinforced titanium A3 armour is typically employed alongside thick layers of elastic polymers and intermetallic laminates, allowing the host ship to mitigate both kinetic and energy-based attacks. For full information regarding titanium A armour, see the link in the description for the archive concerning titanium A armour plating for a dive into the suggested properties of titanium A informed by known principles of the STEM fields and my experience regarding the material sciences. The ship also possesses MG-44N heavy dispersal field generator energy shields, making her the first UNSC ship known to be fitted with energy shield systems. The combination of armour and shields is strong enough to withstand direct impacts with a Covenant RCS-class armoured cruiser while sustaining negligible damage. A quick calculation reveals some extremely impressive specs in that regard. The Infinity has a mass of 907 million metric tons, meaning when it rammed the RCS, which although it was moving perpendicular to the Infinity, their approach velocity was similar to the Infinity striking a near stationary object. The Infinity exited Slipspace and moved her entire length out of the rift before striking the RCS in approximately 4 seconds. This means her velocity at this point was approximately 1,423.5 meters per second. Putting her mass and velocity through a kinetic energy calculator gives us an impact force of 9,189,507.4 gigajoules, or nearly the same amount of energy as a 2.2 megaton explosion or 146 Hiroshima bombs detonating at the same time. The fact that the Infinity's shields were still up after that impact says volumes to the energy shield's strength. On top of this, since the Infinity outweighs the RCS approximately 10 times over, it highlights exactly why she could plough through the RCS without so much as a shudder. Full details on the suggested principles behind energy shield technology can be found in the archive. See the description for links. The superstructure of the Infinity is still highly classified. The nature of her primary structure is utterly unknown, although it is assumed, given her size, that she maintains her structure through an extremely rigid and powerful skeletal structure that was likely designed by AI and thus has a more organic physical model and profile based on trillions of data points and calculated through countless generative iterations of the design to allow the structure to distribute the immense mass of the ship evenly over its length. This, of course, is merely conjecture, but given the size of the Infinity and the prevalence of AI within the UNSC, it stands to reason that AI would have a contributing influence on the design of significant and ruthlessly complex systems that are graded as Tier 1 importance to the ship as a whole. The ship's sublight power plant is an XR2 Boglin Fields S81-X DFR, a fusion-powered set of 1 primary and 2 secondary repulsor engines. This entire city-sized engine module took 15 years to design, build, and test, and is still heavily classified. While the particulars of these engines are classified, we can infer some information from other known engine permutations and characteristics. The actual powerhouse behind these sublight engines is an advanced nuclear fusion power plant. It is worth mentioning that the Pillar of Autumn was refitted with a prototype set of improved nuclear fusion engines that featured 2 smaller reactors around a larger one, which were capable of boosting the overall power output by 300% for a short time if needed, alongside the innovation of a laser-based cooling system utilizing a slurry of photons cooled to near absolute zero. It would appear, at least at face value, that this system worked well enough that it was scaled up and implemented for the UNSC Infinity. Fusion reactors powered by deuterium reactors makes up the main component of a ship's primary propulsion system, known as the fusion drive, which uses vector drive exhaust of fusion byproducts to provide thrust. It would appear, however, that the Infinity doesn't use a simple basis of vector drive exhaust for thrust, instead using the immense energy to power its repulsor engines, generating the immensely powerful tidal gravitic forces that provide the Infinity with her primary thrust. See the archive on fusion reactors for full details. Repulsor engines used stacked tidal gravity generators which create asymmetrical gravity fields that push and pull a ship through space in a desired vector, all without the need for reaction mass. or conventional exhaust. A repulsor engine produces quantum fluctuations in its wake that are extremely hazardous to personnel and nearby vessels within its range, particularly when operating at high thrust. This is basically all that is directly cited in the law regarding repulsor engines. However, by implementation of other fields of quantum mechanics and physics, we can explore the potential fundamentals behind a repulsor engine, all of which can be found in the archive relating to repulsor engines. Again, link is in the description. Translite power is provided by the Mark 10 Macedon Z prototype number 78720HDS mounted on a remote carriage. The latter is of Forerunner design and origin, capable of dropping out of slipspace with pinpoint accuracy. It is also capable of powering itself by drawing upon foaming vacuum energy, which powers it independently of the ship's power plants. As the alien slipspace drive is not compatible with UNSC standard power and data feeds, a series of engine module interlocks based on Covenant control restrictors are fitted. Forerunner's understandings of the mechanics of slipspace far exceed that of the UNSC or the Covenant. They used small crystals embedded in their slipspace drives to manipulate slipspace, allowing for smoother transitions. They had a superior grasp of reconciliation, the ability to correct or otherwise manipulate the causal effects of slipspace travel. Forerunner ships are also extremely fast, as seen when the Mantle's approach was able to travel from the vicinity of Installation 03 to Earth in a matter of minutes. It is then reasonable to assume that the slipspace engines in the Infinity are capable of immense translite velocities, but are likely not being utilised to their maximum efficiency due to a lack of a full working knowledge of the particulars of the drive function and characteristics. See the archive on slipspace engines for the specifics on faster-than-light travel. Note that due to the hybridization between human and Forerunner technology, as previously mentioned here, aspects of both respective slipspace engines apply to the Infinity. As of February 2558, Infinity has an official complement of 17,151. This included 8,900 Navy personnel, 5,400 Marines, 750 ODSTs, 1,700 ONI agents, 480 civilian UEG personnel, 8 Huragok, and 24 Swords of Sanghelios members. These are often organised into a Marine Expeditionary Division and a drop battalion for the ODSTs, which are then subdivided into 5 task forces, each of which can operate independently. Infinity also houses hundreds of Spartan 4s led by Commander Sarah Palmer. The ship's S-deck, affectionately known as Spartan Town, is dedicated to their use. Additionally, 800 of Army and 200 Air Force assets were assigned to the ship during her second tour on Requiem. The Infinity is almost completely self-sufficient, boasting facilities and comforts normally only seen on colony support ships. Single deployment is afforded by 329 R-1295 launching systems for the M9407 SOEVs and 124 B-854 jettison bays for the M8823 human entry vehicles. Emergency escape vehicles include 8,900 SKT-29 Class 8 enclosed heavy lifeboats and 12,750 RLT-85 emergency shuttle pods. Mass deployment is realised through a large number of bays located throughout the vessel. Infinity has 275 Cat 1 primary bays, 140 Cat 2 secondary bays, 108 Cat 3 material deployment bays, and 10 Cat 8 subvessel deployment bays. The last of these each carry a Strident class heavy frigate or an Anlace class frigate. Infinity also houses 10 M510 Mammoths, 560 M12 Warthogs, 80 M820 Scorpions, hundreds of aerial vehicles, 8 D96 TCE Albatross, 150 F41E broadswords or D79 TC Pelicans, and an unknown complement of GA TL1 longswords. Infinity is also equipped with sizable recreational areas, including a large atrium-like memorial park, located under an enormous transparent dome. The park has a self-contained biosphere complete with plants and animal life, and has been said to surpass many natural parks on Earth in size. Garden plots and activity centres are also found here, with the ceiling being host to an artificial sky dome. Among other amenities, the ship contains a bar known as the Full Moon. For training purposes, several wargames training areas can be aboard. Among them includes the second largest military simulation and test environment in the human sphere. The science deck for the Infinity is home to state-of-the-art laboratories and research facilities provided by ONI and the Watershed Division. It is unclear whether Infinity has a permanent escort formation apart from her internally docked subvessels, although on occasion she has been accompanied by formations comprising of dozens of vessels. An escort fleet consisting of roughly 24 Paris-class heavy frigates and a dozen Autumn-class heavy cruisers accompanied Infinity on her first mission to Requiem. Though only 2 of the frigates are known to have arrived along with their parent ship, they may have been destroyed when the Shield World's artificial gravity well was activated. 11 Autumn-class cruisers, including Song of the East, accompanied Infinity at some point between her return to Earth, circa July 2557, and return to Requiem in February 2558. At least 3 Vindication-class light battleships were dispatched to the planet, along with Infinity during the UNSC's second expedition there. Infinity is equipped with a highly advanced sensor and holographic imaging suite derived from Forerunner technology discovered on Trevelyan. The system uses a combination of various shipboard sensors and imaging from orbital drones to produce a hyper-accurate real-time image of planetary surfaces in the ship's holotanks, such as the bridge's main holotable. Infinity also features 16-channel Slipspace Wavecom data links for superluminal communications. Infinity's aft sensor array is equipped with a long-range hyperscanner, which are an advanced type of sensor system typically mounted on Covenant warships. They are capable of providing extremely detailed information on any object in range, including internal scans and structure composition. Unfortunately, the sheer volume of data available overwhelm the Covenant crews, and as a result, their workstations typically filter anything not of immediate tactical significance. The UNSC Infinity's application of bridge crew and smart and dumb AIs likely circumnavigates this overwhelming level of data and transmisses it into usable intel. The rear sensor array also features a Forerunner Luminary, which is a Forerunner device designed to scan for and identify Forerunner relics. This is how the Infinity has been able to locate the remaining Halo rings as well as a dozen other Forerunner sites throughout the galaxy. Infinity's primary armament is 4 27-meter bore CR-03 Series 8 magnetic accelerator cannons capable of firing various sub-caliber rounds, cargo packages, and autonomous kill vehicles with specialized payloads. This is already insane proportions for a gun, and to top it off, it's considered more powerful than the orbital defense platform's Super Mach cannons. The ODP Super Mach fires a 3,000-ton ferric tungsten slug at 4% the speed of light, delivering a synonymous amount of energy to 52 gigatons of TNT, approximately the same as detonating 1,000 SAR bombers, the biggest nuclear weapon ever detonated here on Earth, at the same time. The bore of the Super Mach looks a little less than 2 meters. The quoted bore from the Series 8 is 27 meters, making it around 10 times larger. On top of this, a single ultra-dense round fired from one of these Machs made a crater 7 miles across on Sanghelios. With a little more information regarding the particulars of the Series 8 Machs, that's as close as we're going to get at this time to lore-accurate information. It is worth noting that the continuous streams of energy we see the Infinity's Machs put out in-game is for cinematic effect, and doesn't represent the realities of what firing the Machs would actually look like. For full information regarding the Series 8 MAC and other associated magnetic accelerator cannons and railguns in use by the UNSC, see the archive on MACs and railguns. Link, as always, is below. Infinity boasts a significant missile network that can be implemented for ship-to-ship combat and anti-air defense, orbital gunfire support, or marine forces, among other uses. Emplaced throughout the ship are 1,100 missile pods of 3 types: Archer, Rapier, and Howler. The M42 Archer missile provides secondary armament for Infinity with 350 pods of 24 missiles each. Additional missiles include the M75 Rapier 250 by 30 missiles and the M96 Howler 500 by 20 missiles. Close-in defense against enemy missiles, fighters and boarding craft is the primary mission of the M965 Fortress Point Defense Network, a series of 830 70mm automatic cannons. Infinity is also equipped with a network of Mark 2551 MACs, a network of M85 Scythe anti-air turrets, and a network of M97 Lance missile pods mounted on the dorsal hull. Infinity also carries a sizable complement of Variant 5 Havoc nuclear warheads. Hull Section 1 is dominated by the Infinity's 4 Series 8 MAC cannons, with its barrels, capacitors, ammunition and feed systems and supporting decks making up a third of the mass of the forward 1 kilometre of the ship, with the bridge being slung directly underneath. It is reasonable to assume the captain's quarters are also in this area, and an array of communications hardpoints protrude from the front of the ship, as well as many point defense systems arranged in overlapping fields of fire. These are continued for the entirety of the surface of the hull of the ship. There is a heavy-duty hardpoint on the lower port and starboard side of the ship, used to dock with stations, tethers and other ships and allow the movement of freight to and from the Infinity. This is where much of the ship's provisions will be taken on board. From here there is access to a heavy lift crane system for the sakes of localised logistics, and direct access to the ship-wide rail travel system to enable the relevant provisions to be moved quickly and easily to the areas of the ship that they are intended for. Hull Section 2 is almost entirely dedicated to crew quarters. This is hardly surprising given that the Infinity was originally conceived as a kind of lifeboat, for if humanity lost the war with the Covenant. The Infinity was, and is, intended to house, support and play host to close to 20,000 people. With such a massive population, provisions had to be made as to the accommodations of so many people. The Infinity is almost entirely self-sufficient, with facilities and comforts normally only seen on colony support ships. She also contains an entire deck dedicated to Spartan operations, colloquially known as S-Deck. This contains all the accommodations for the Spartans, personnel facilities, separate R&R facilities, separate mess halls, barracks, armoury, training areas, including the second largest military simulation and test environment in the human sphere. This area of the ship is crisscrossed with vast travel systems and support engineering and service corridors for the general maintenance of the ship's systems. Hull Section 3 houses the 10 sub-vessel bays in the belly of the ship. Inside the 10 internal vertical hangar bays, Anlace or Strident class frigates can be found suspended in their docking clamps, ready to be launched at a moment's notice, bolstering the Infinity's already impressive military might with its own personal escort fleet of frigates all outfitted with MAC cannon systems and nuclear capabilities, and even the possibility of energy shielding when it becomes available. Traversing throughout Hull Section 3 is some of the most heavy-duty superstructural support beams that have ever been constructed, some of the largest having a cross-sectional area of nearly 60 feet squared, 18.2 square meters, and some of the longest vertical beams, being more akin to the ribs of a conventional vessel, measuring close to 700 meters in length. This rib-like structure can be observed in the cutaway shown in Halo Warfleet. This means, hypothetically speaking, somewhere inside the ship, either along the keel or the spine, there could hypothetically be an absolutely humongous primary structural beam, but for now we can only hypothesize of this. Nested between the two rows of 5 sub-vessel bays is the Marine Expeditionary Units, a Marine Division and Drop Battalion of ODSTs being permanently assigned to the ship. These troops are organised into 5 task forces, each of which can operate independently with fully supporting facilities, barracks, training areas and amenities. The Soev launch bays are similarly styled to that of the Marathon class heavy cruisers, with pods being held in rows of cradles on a rotating rack, all accessed by suspended gantries. To the aft of this are the 8 massive shuttle bays of the Infinity, 4 on the port and 4 on the starboard, stacked in a 2x2 arrangement. These shuttle bays feature heavy-duty armoured blast doors and energy-filled systems to contain the atmosphere within the ship even when the blast doors are open, allowing ships and personnel to operate within the bays at all times, even as ships such as Pelicans and Albatross dropships are arriving and departing. A full hangar and surfacing area for the Infinity's complement of dropships and vehicles can be found nested in and around these 8 shuttle bays. Around the midline are much of the military operational areas of the ship. Here you will find supplementary hangar bays as well as dropship launching rails capable of accelerating a Pelican to takeoff velocity in seconds. Many of the armories, cryobays, locker rooms, gyms, mess halls and the like can also be found in this area. Although this hull section isn't all work. Dominating the upper hull surface is an immense cylindrical domed structure, visible from nearly all angles, and nearly as wide as the ship itself. This is the Infinity's Memorial Park, located under an enormous transparent dome that looks out into the depths of space. The park has a self-contained biosphere complete with plants and animal life, and has been said to surpass many of the natural parks on Earth in size. Garden plots and activity centres are also found here, with the ceiling being host to an artificial sky dome. While the very top of this dome is a clear window out into space, the panels lower along the sides of the dome are massive displays capable of producing realistic skyboxes, with clouds, blue skies, different colours of dawn and dusk, as well as virtual weather fronts. This immensely impressive area is highly prized and utilised by the crew of the Infinity for R&R time, as well as shipwide events and entertainment. Hull Section 4 plays host to the science deck, where state-of-the-art laboratories and research facilities provided by the Office of Naval Intelligence and the Watershed Division can be found. This is also where the ship's Wavecom data links can be located on the lower hull surface, enabling superluminal communications. This aft section of the ship also contains the ship's reactors and Slipspace Engine, all accessible and serviceable by qualified engineers and technicians via a maze of gantries, platforms, interconnecting corridors, and maintenance access ways. It is also here that the immense engine module interlinks between the UNSC standard power and data feeds and the Forerunner engine module via Covenant control restrictors can be found. And underslung to this is the powerhouse of the Infinity, the city-sized Forerunner engine module that pushes this immense ship through space at sublight velocities. But it's worth noting at this stage that the performance we have so far observed of the Infinity may not even be the finished article, due to the inherent inconsistencies and inefficiencies associated with mating 2 incompatible technological systems via a poorly understood and ill-implemented third technological buffer. The engines, for example, are Forerunner. The ship is human in design. To mate the pair of these incompatible systems, the UNSC made use of Covenant control restrictors to bridge the gap between the UNSC and Forerunner technology. But the control restrictors were poorly understood and ill-fitting systems when used by the Covenant. All they really knew is that they seemed to work better than whatever they were doing beforehand. Even with AIs like Roland on the task of perhaps incrementally overhauling those systems, they're still significantly limited in nature by the very hardware of the system. So basically the performance the Infinity is actually doing is as a consequence of a 3-step conversion process, mating 3 distinctly different types of technology together with all of the inherent inconsistencies and waste energies associated with such a system, and with the Covenant parts being suboptimal at best. It is possible then that if the UNSC let a few AI and maybe some Hurugok loose on those systems, they could perhaps overhaul the entire system and make the UNSC to the Forerunner components relatively seamlessly, boosting overall performance by at least 33%, being the utter removal of the flawed Covenant restrictors. This could hypothetically result in the Infinity being capable of immensely faster sublight velocities, and slipspace velocities more akin to that of the Anodyne Spirit, the Forerunner key ship at the centre of High Charity, which itself was capable of jumping the distance between Installation 05 and Earth in mere hours. But again, this is merely conjecture based on observations. And finally, at the very tail of the ship is the aft sensor array containing hyperscanners capable of mapping the surfaces of planets from orbit with extreme levels of detail, and a Forerunner luminary fully facilitating and enabling the Infinity's primary mission, which is the continued search for and discovery of Forerunner relics across the galaxy. As things currently stand, there is very little additional information about the Infinity that I have not already discussed or is already directly observed in-game. I will of course endeavour to revisit the Infinity as more information is declassified and divulged to me, so this most detailed breakdown is far from complete and may yet even become a series. Again, if you want to see a multi-hour supercut of this video with the relevant archives all edited together, let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe to keep up to date with future information regarding the flagship of the UNSC, as well as tons of other technologies from the Halo universe. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below, I look forward to what you have to say. I just want to give a quick shout out to my patrons and YouTube members Neek the Silent Cartographer, Siphonic Storm and Todd Morrison, my Tier 0 Transcentients, Brian Sebastian, Red Sea, Darian, Stalker of the Realms, Falcon X003, Alvin, Mr. Fell, Flaming Halo, Starlight, Legion's Lost, Josh, Kyle, the TG7, Cathead Camp, Schneidish, Leon, Ignizzle, Chris Spartan 118 and Cooper, the Holders of the Mantle, my Glorious Reclaimers, my Loyal Metarchs, and all the other patrons and members who have jumped aboard to support the channel. Much love to you guys, thanks so much for your support. It's keeping things happening and helping the development of the channel and future awesomeness in a big way. If you like Halo lore discussed to insane levels of detail, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you're told the second a new video hits the shelves. Be sure to support us on all major social media channels, including Discord, and if you really love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon and supporting the channel over there, or jumping on as a channel member. It would mean the world to me and affords you loads of great bonuses and perks, while also helping work towards some awesome stuff in the near and distant future. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.